Good morning and welcome to what is hopefully going to be our last ever video assembly, although who knows what's going to happen in the future. So this week we have a celebration of International Women's Day from 11H, who are going to talk us through its history, why we have it, and also some famous historical figures who have represented women in the best way. We're also then going to hear and see some work in the Gallery of Excellence. We have the students who've been moved forward in the Global Poem Recitation Contest, as well as some work from history relating to the current war in the Ukraine. We then have some messages and some information from the student executive. Now this is going to happen over a period of time. You'll see people standing up in the hall next week when we have our first face-to-face assembly for a while. But it's important that each of the committees in the student executive share with you and tell you a little bit about what they've been doing. So we're starting off this week with the Pastoral Care Committee and also the Sustainability Committee, who are going to tell you about what they've been doing and what they hope to do in the future. After that, we have some CAS news from Light into Europe with the comedy nights coming up next week, before we then hear from Nikita, who is the House representative on the student executive, and he will be telling you a little bit about another house competition that will be coming up very, very soon. We will then have praise points and house points, so we can see where we're at with the house competitions, before we then also see who is doing the most on Seneca Learning this week, before finally celebrating people's birthdays. So a huge amount to go through, and especially going to have even more next week when we talk a bit about the MUN, which is taking place this weekend too. The final thing I wanted to wish you and thank you all for is your donations for Light into Europe, for the appeal for Ukraine. The van was loaded up yesterday. We had a huge amount of stuff on there, and thank you ever so much for all of your help there. We're trying to do all that we can to help and support refugees, both within Ukraine and also within Romania coming from Ukraine. Every little helps, as they say. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to 11H now to celebrate International Women's Day.
Celebrating Women's Day, year 11H.
International Women's Day celebrates the social, economic, and political achievements of women globally. It's marked annually on March 8th. And it's one of the most important days of the year to celebrate women's achievements, raise awareness about women's equality, lobby for accelerated gender parity, and fundraise for female-focused charities.
One woman who I think is inspiring is Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is an American politician and attorney who is the 49th and the current Vice President of the United States. She's the first female Vice President and the highest-ranking female official in U.S. history. As well as that, she's the first African-American and first Asian-American Vice President.
Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks invigorated the struggle for racial equality when she refused to give up her bus seat to a white man in Montgomery, Alabama. Parks became an instant icon, but her resistance was a natural extension of a lifelong commitment to activism. The United States Congress honored her as the First Lady of Civil Rights and Mother of the Freedom Movement.
Women in Romania, Maria Rossetti. Maria Rossetti is the first female journalist in Romania, one of the personalities that played a crucial role for the outcome of the Revolution of 1848 and the way in which she remained in the public consciousness. Born in Guernsey, Scotland, the sister of the diplomat Effingham Grant and wife of the Romanian revolutionary Constantin Alexandru Rossetti, made the cause of Romania her own. Despite being a foreigner, through everything she did, Maria Rossetti tried to help her adopted country evolve and become a modern unitary state.
First Women's Rights Convention. The Seneca Falls Convention was the first women's rights convention. It was held in June 1948 in Seneca Falls, New York. The convention publicized itself as a convention to discuss the social, civil, and religious condition and rights of a woman. This meeting is considered a revolutionary and rightfully so, as it launched the women's suffrage, the right to vote in political elections movement, which more than 7 decades later ensured women the right to vote.
An inspiring person is Alice Paul felt that the suffrage was just a first step for women. In 1920, she declared, "It is incredible to me that any woman should consider the fight for full equality won. It has just begun."
Maud Park not only aided female voters as the first president of the League of Women Voters, but she also helped form and chaired the Women's Joint Congressional Committee, which lobbied Congress to enact legislation favored by women's groups.
One woman that we think is inspiring is Melinda French Gates. She's an American philanthropist. Melinda is a businesswoman who once worked at Microsoft. She is married to Bill Gates. They met while she was working for Microsoft. She was awarded honorary damehood by Queen Elizabeth II in 2014 for her services to charity and international development.
As an American citizen, she cannot be called Dame Melinda, but can use the letters DBE after her name. She is running the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation with her husband. She has 3 children, Phoebe Adele Gates, Rory John Gates, and Jennifer Catherine Gates. She got awarded for the Gates Foundation in May 2006.
On March 8, 1917, demonstrators clamoring for bread took the streets of the Russian capital of Petrograd, known as St. Petersburg. Supported by 90,000 men and women on strike, the protesters clashed with police but refused to leave the streets following the model devised during the Revolution of 1905. In some encounters, regiments opened fire, killing demonstrators, but the protesters kept to the streets, and the troops began to waver. The imperial government was forced to resign, and the Duma, a Russian assembly that was established from 1906 to 1917, formed a provisional government that peacefully vied with the Petrograd Soviet for control of the revolution.
Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from 1979 to 1990 and leader of Conservative Party from 1975 to 1990. She was the longest-serving British Prime Minister of the 20th century and was also the first woman to hold that office. As Prime Minister, she implemented policies that became known as Thatcherism. A Soviet journalist dubbed her the Iron Lady, which was a nickname that became associated with her uncompromising politics and her leadership style. Nina Simone, who was born Eunice Kathleen Wayman and lived from 1933 to 2003, was an American singer-songwriter, musician, and civil rights activist. Her music mostly spanned rhythm and blues and jazz and pop. She began her career in 1954, and in 1958 she recorded her debut album Little Girl Blue, which was an immediate global success. And her career lasted until the year she died, which proved how successful an artist she actually was. She addressed racial inequality in the United States in her album Nina Simone in Concert, and she performed and spoke at civil rights meetings and was in strong support of black nationalism, like Malcolm X. Unlike Martin Luther King Jr., she advocated violent revolution rather than a non-violent approach, and this, however, caused backlash and severely harmed her music career. So she had to flee the US and left for Barbados. But when she returned, there was a warrant issued for her arrest, but she swiftly rose back to success. So thank you very much to 11H for their assembly on International Women's Day, and hopefully that will be the last video assembly that a forum group has to put together for a very long time. Now, as part of the Gallery of Excellence this week, we're going to first of all hear from MFL with regards to the poem recitation contest, which a lot of you have been participating in, and we've had all the entries in as a school, and there's been many who've been moved forward to the final, the global final. So this started on the 4th of January, and it's now sort of gone into its global sort of competition stage, and it's lots and lots of different organisations around the world, Linguiscope, the Spanish Council for sort of Learning Languages, the Institut Français, the Goethe Institute have all been involved. So the following students, as you can see here, and I believe these are students studying German, have made it through to the global final. So that's Adelina, Alex Ruderianu, Andre, Pelion Erjan, Clementine, Sophia, Eva and Felix. So well done to you all. And then in French, we have Ioana Dutu, Anushka Laha, Luci Popa, Mircea Rosca, Olivia Opran, Nicolas Vonescu, and Radu Nika. And then in Spanish, we have Roman, Hazal, Sonia Marta, Vasiliki, Victor, and Priya. So well done to all of you. And you never know, hopefully one of you might end up winning. Now, obviously, we have sort of been hearing over the last couple of weeks about the terrible things which are taking place in Ukraine after the Russian invasion. And Mr. Hudson has been working hard in history in order to give you all a bit of an understanding as to why this has happened. So you would have seen in social media, we had some work which has been put there from year 10 and year 11, but now it was year 12. So we can see here from Vlad some information about the historical aspects of Ukraine. We also, again from Colleen, some understanding as to different sort of areas, what is happening there in sort of the different areas, and lots of information itself about Crimea, the Donbass, and also some of the areas which were historically Romanian. And then from Eliane as well, okay, the different sort of events which have happened over the last couple of weeks and why sort of this is potentially happening. And it's important that we do gather an understanding as to why this war has happened. And it's also important as well that we talk about what's happening as well, so that it becomes, we can rationalise it rather than worrying and fearing about what we see in the news on a regular basis. So, as mentioned, we're now going to hear a little bit from one of the CAS groups, which is Light Into Europe, who are going to tell you all about the comedy night that will be taking place next week in order to raise some funds.
The Light Into Europe cast group invites all of a secondary school to our last event of the school year, a fantastic open mic comedy night. For only 10 lei, you can join us after school on Friday the 18th of March to be wonderfully entertained by some of Year 12 and 13 students' attempts at comedy, and you can even join in yourselves. On top of this, you can instead pay 15 lei to not only see our wonderful stand-up, but also the classic comedy film Johnny English, featuring Rowan Atkinson as a terrible MI6 agent. Feel free to bring extra money for the snacks that we will be selling at the venue as well. Remember, it's Friday the 18th of March in the sports hall, from 7 till 10, with 10 lei for just the stand-up, 15 for the stand-up and the film. And of course, bring extra money for the snacks. Thank you for your time.
Now, as mentioned at the start in my introduction, we're now going to hear a little bit from two of the student executive committees about what they've been doing and what they hope to do in the future. So I'm going to hand over to the Sustainability Committee first, and then to the Pastoral Care Committee.
My name is Anna, and I'm in year 13. I'm the co-chair of the Sustainability Committee, and we wanted to take this time to just give everyone a quick update on what we have been working on so far and what our plans for the future are. So far, we have managed to establish the key steps that need to be taken to achieve the green flag. So we have a pretty clear outline and plan that we guide ourselves by on what has to be done. And of course, the first step of this is to gather information and feedback from the school community on what do you think some of the school's issues regarding sustainability are, and of course, any suggestions that you might have to improve these. So our next steps are firstly to use the feedback that is given to us through the questionnaire that I think by now it has reached everyone, and we really urge you to complete it, as the more information we get, the better it is. And we would use this feedback to choose what our main focus points regarding the school sustainability should be. We have already received some responses from people wanting us to organize any workshops or activities to help inform people and raise awareness about the impact and importance of combating climate change. And also the third and most important step would be us taking action and actually starting to implement and encouraging more sustainable behaviors around our school. Of course, this wouldn't only take place this year. we look forward to keeping these behaviors next year, as the process of us getting a green flag will definitely not be achieved this year. But I think this year could be a really important stepping stone, and a lot of work could be done this year. So thank you very much for all of your input and support on behalf of our committee. And we look forward to keeping you updated. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Eliane and I'm part of the Pastoral Care Committee with Iwana, Kathleen and Maya. So, what have we done so far? First of all, the tutoring program, in which we worked with the academic committee to provide support for students, especially right now in year 11, who need academic support. We go each week and help them by answering their questions and doing fast papers together. The second achievement is bringing the community together, making sure that everyone is happy and that everyone feels safe within the school. So you may be wondering what we wish to continue doing. First of all, the tutoring program until study leave comes, spreading awareness about mental health, helping people stay positive, and ensuring that everyone feels safe and happy. Thank you everyone. Hope you have a great weekend.
So thank you to the committees there for giving us a little bit more information about what they're doing. So we're now going to have a look at house points. And as you can see in the house competition, Transylvania are continuing to stretch their lead, getting further and further away from the other two houses as time goes on. But maybe, who knows, Dubroja and Montaigne can do something about that. So we'll now have a look at the praise points. And this week, it's congratulations to Sandra in 9E, who's got her 200 praise point certificate, and to Andre in 11P for his 150 praise point certificate. We've then got a few with 100 praise points, which is Andrea, Costa, Natalie, David, and Sophia and Leah. And then well done to Alexandros, Titi, and Amalia for getting their 50 praise point certificate. Now, this week's Seneca Heroes, well, it's interesting because I've just had a look at the league table for the Seneca. Again, we are at the top, quite significantly so as well, ahead of two gem schools which are in Dubai, and I know both those schools, and they're huge. So we are punching well above our weight. So well done to you all for your use of Seneca Learning. I know that year 11, 12 and 13 have been using it well, and it also appears that lots of other year groups are too, which is fantastic. So we can see our Seneca champions for this week with the most sessions completed. We have Rita in 9E, so well done to you. We have Andrea in 11P, so well done to you. And we have a Felipe in 11H, so well done to you. So I would encourage you to take as much advantage of Seneca as you possibly can. It's a fantastic resource, and I hope that it will make a big difference to the grades that you are achieving. One last final thing before we go on to the birthdays for this week is the latest house competition. I thank you for Nikita for organising this. So it's illustrations of peace. We're going through a particularly sort of unpeaceful time, shall we say, at the moment, and I think it's important that we remember about the theme of peace and sort of doing what we can for others. So Nikita has organised a house competition, and we will see some of these posters up around the school, but please enter. Points go towards your houses, and there will be extra praise points for those and house points for those who have their posters put up around the school. So the final thing for me to do this week then is to wish certain people a happy birthday. So happy birthday to Sasha, whose birthday is today. Anastasia as well, your birthday is today. Hope you get to celebrate it this weekend. Happy birthday to Alex, who's also having their birthday today on Friday. And finally, happy birthday next week for Theodora, whose birthday is on Tuesday. So I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, and we will see each other again on Monday.